Jacksonville to the next level. I'm stressing accountability, responsibility, and transparency. Today, I'm launching a task force to ensure the most productive future for our mission of economic development at City Hall. As my reform of government took shape, I recognize the need to realign the scope of Jacksonville Economic Development Commission to meet the needs in our city, to put people back to work, to attract jobs, and face the challenges of the 21st century for our economy. A December 21st City Council Auditors Report pointed out that there were many irregularities, and many of y'all reported some of those findings. And they took place between October 2007 to September 2010. Jacksonville deserves better. When I took office just over 6 months ago, I did so with an oath to make city government more effective and efficient. Taxpayers deserve to feel that their resources and their investments are safe in our city, and they deserve a more responsible and responsive government. Today, we begin a detailed focus on our future. This task force will have results within 90 to 120 days. We are moving fast to determine the best practices and new compliance standard as we move forward. I've asked my good friend, Bill Scheu, to chair this task force for our city. Bill has demonstrated himself as a friend to Jacksonville. His credentials are enormous. He's been named twice the Jacksonville Bar Attorney of the Year. His civic experience spans a number of boards and membership. His volunteer work has made a big difference in our city, from running our public libraries. He's a Rotarian. He's even a Sunday school teacher. Bill is a community-minded person. He's highly qualified to head up this task force. I'm so humbled and honored that he agreed to do this. And at this time, I'll have Bill to come up and say a few words. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. It's an honor to accept this responsibility. As you know, this is a significant step in the overall mission, your mission, to grow our economy with good paying, sustainable jobs. As a service to taxpayers, we all want to build the leanest, most effective economic development arm, and at the same time assure the taxpayers that their funds are being used wisely and properly. After fighting double-digit unemployment for the past several years, the taxpayers deserve an optimal service to ensure we are attracting employers that will build a higher standard of living. Good employers build stronger communities by offering substantive wages to stabilize family budgets. I'm excited about this challenge. I'm honored to be working with you. I look forward to making this happen and that the proper framework be established. We put together a great team. Robert Miller has agreed to serve. He is a retired senior vice president who served at Regency Centers Corporation, one of our very important companies, a New York Stock Exchange company headquartered here. He is a CPA responsible. He was responsible for due diligence and the development of cost accounting process. He redid that for Regency before he retired. Jack Meeks is a CPA. Paul Perez is a former U.S. attorney who now works as an executive vice president and compliance chief at Fidelity National Financial. Daniel Rice is the CEO of Mayport Ventures, a venture capital firm that evaluates businesses and knows what they should be asked. He also is a past chairman of the Community Foundation. Grace Sacerdote is the executive vice president of the Community Foundation. She also is a CPA and responsible for many of the compliance procedures that the Community Foundation utilizes. Robert Shercliffe is a philanthropist who's donated time and money to a number of civic causes. His career has been centered on business evaluation and due diligence as businesses were acquiring others. And Cleve Warren is the president of Essential Capital. He is a lender and knows how to evaluate what borrowers say they're going to be doing. Cleve also has contributed mightily in our community. So that's our team. We will start in the first week or so in February and be finished in mid-May at the latest. are excited to serve for you and for the community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At this time, Bill and I will take a few questions.
What will you be looking for as a committee? I mean, we saw the audit report, which just
Sure.
skimmed the surface, but what are you specifically looking for?
Well, I think the key is making sure that we are doing what we said we would do when we deal with economic development, making sure that we hold ourselves in a high standard of compliance, collecting resources, making sure we dot every I, cross every T. We don't want another report like this. I think, and putting together a team like this is important. As you know, economic development is very important for a city. It's a #1 priority in my administration. And you know, with the reform being passed, we'll have oversight and we'll be accountable in the future. And so that's why I'm looking in the future to make sure that we do this right when it comes to incentives and collecting, making sure we have the right resources, making sure we're structured right, because that's one of the things that was in the report, lack of staff, as it was mentioned. So, Bill, you want to add to that?
Sure. The mayor's asked us to look on the compliance side to make sure that the taxpayers know that companies, we don't. We want to make sure that companies want to come to Jacksonville, but at the same time, when taxpayer funds are used, we want to make sure that those are used and accounted for like the companies said. So it's really on the compliance side that we're dealing with, not the incentive side.
You're going back then, looking at what's already been approved?
We are not, no, we're going to have a positive forward-looking view. We're going to consider what happened. We're going to consider what other cities have done, what really best practices are. And it occurred to me, as I told the mayor, that we're going to be evaluating these grant seekers who've gotten grants. And who does that better than the grant-making community? That's the reason for the Community Foundation. They evaluate grant recipients all day long. So they bring a wealth of experience to that, and applied to the corporate sector, which the nonprofits are part of, but really at the for-profit sector, I think they bring great value. But we're looking forward.
So are you looking for structural advice? I mean, you talk about the way the organization works. Are you looking for advice on how the new JDC is set up, or simply on how contracts should be enforced?
Well, I think clearly you want to do both, right? You want to make sure how it's structured, how it's set up, and to adhere to the compliance. I mean, that's the key. And I think part of it is having the resources to do that as well, making sure we have the resources and the tools to comply and make sure that we're always in compliance.
This last audit only skimmed the surface. Steve Joseph said we need to do a thorough audit of JEDC. Do you agree with that? I mean,
Yep, we're going to make sure that there's a thorough audit done of JEDC.
When?
Starting now.
Is this?
I mean, an outside firm or?
No, we'll have the council auditors. They did the first audit, they can do the second. I think it makes sense. They did the first audit from 2007 to 2010. They can continue to review the other contracts.
Have you asked them to do that?
I've reached out to them, they know it's coming.
How often will this task force meet?
Well, I think they'll set an agenda and a time frame, but the goal is to finish it within 90 to 120 days.
And it will all be open to the public? It'll be
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's full sunshine laws.
Full sunshine.
Jim knows that.
Well, Bill, you're always the go-to guy when the city's in trouble. It happened with the election. I mean, you've been on a number of committees. I mean, do you feel this is a problem for the city and this is something that they really have to address?
Well, I read the audit very hurriedly over the weekend, and there's some things in there, but I think what we need to do is stand back. We need to see what has happened, and then we need to see what best practice. This group is just an astounding group of people, all of whom have agreed to serve, that they can really formulate best practices for how we go forward. That's what we're about. In terms of our meetings, I anticipate we'll meet every other week, every couple of weeks, but we'll set that schedule at our first meeting, which will probably be the first week in February.
One last question. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.